Today, I'm going to cover everything there is to know about filming on a camcorder. First of all, which camera to pick and how to get your footage off the tapes, and also how to record tapeless. What is up, guys? I'm Tyler Casey. I've been actually filming on camcorders, implementing it into my music videos for probably almost 10 years now. I've been using one of the cameras that my parents had when I was growing up. I've just continued to use it in my work since then. I've already made 2 videos on this subject in the last year, but since then the Handycam craze has boomed. If you haven't seen on Instagram, there's creators like Handycam selling builds, and just tons of creators getting into the Handycam space, which is great. I wanted to create a final video that, first of all, it helps you decide which camera to get. I'm gonna cover the cameras I use, and then I'm gonna cover whether you should record to tape or tapeless, and I'm gonna compare all the tapeless recorders so you can see the quality difference and the price points and the pros and cons of each. If you wanna skip around, if you already have a camera or whatever, feel free to skip around. Everything's gonna be time stamped. Also, if you have any questions, put them down below. I'm gonna do my best to respond. So there's really 2 main formats that I'd recommend when purchasing a camera. That's either a Hi8 camera or a MiniDV. I used to use a VHS-C camera, but the batteries are just too hard to find. You're gonna have to find like a refurbished one, and that's just too much work. So when looking for a camera, the biggest thing you want to look out for is if you're able to buy batteries for it. And some of my favorite cameras are, I have this big old Hi8 right here. This has been a main workhorse for me. The zoom is crazy. It has night shot, so you get that sick night vision mode. Best of all, it takes Sony MP batteries. Big MP battery on it. I can run this thing for hours on end and just keep recording. This is the TRV-58, and I love this camera. That's gonna give you like that really old, kind of low quality look. If you want a little bit better of a quality look, I would go for a MiniDV camera. These are a little bit newer and more compact, like this one here. This still has really cool features. It has night shot as well. And I like this one has in-camera effects like this slow shutter speed effect. Here's a couple tips for purchasing a camera. First, I would work with what you have. Ask around, see if anyone has an old camcorder laying around, see if you could get batteries for it, and see if it powers on. If not, I would check local flea markets, thrift stores, and maybe even Facebook Marketplace. If you're looking for a specific model, you're gonna have to go to eBay. You're gonna pay a little bit more. If you get something that's tested, that means they turned it on and it works. You're getting someone who knows a little bit about VHS cameras. If it's not tested, they may just not have the battery for it. So if you purchase it and buy a battery for it, you might be able to get it working. By buying untested cameras, I was actually able to get this Sony SC5, which is actually rare now. Michael Jackson actually filmed on this exact camera. Not on this exact camera, but this exact model. This camera has a cool, unique gimmick where you can, instead of a zoom, it actually swaps lenses, so you get this cool in-camera transition. But now this camera has skyrocketed in price, and it's
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
$1,100 now, which is just insane. I would not say it's worth that. I picked mine up for like $90, which is just crazy, and I feel really lucky to have that. You can still get new batteries for like MiniDV Canon cameras and Panasonic cameras. I would recommend checking Amazon and searching the battery type to see if it's still in production. I feel like having a reliable battery is probably one of the most important things when filming. So what is this debate about tapeless and using a tape? If you're using a tape, you're putting an actual tape into the camera and you're recording to that. You rewind to the beginning and you record at least 60 minutes, and then you have to rewind back again, and then you capture that. If you're going tapeless, you're taking the video feed out of the camera and you're plugging it into some device, and that device is going to record to SD card. There's no tape in your camera. So if you plan on just going tapeless, I would recommend looking for a camera with a broken tape deck. That can actually save you a lot of money in the long run. But if you have one with a working tape deck, even better. You can still go tapeless, or you could record to tape if you want. You can get a tape and you can just reuse it multiple times. Just rewind once you record everything and capture it, and then you could reuse the same tape over and over again. You can pick more tapes up off of eBay. So you just record it to your camcorder using the tape, and you want to get your footage off so you can edit your video. Well, I have multiple methods for you. The first method is probably my favorite and one of the most affordable, and that's going to be using a capture card. You can pick these anywhere up from around $10 all the way up to $60. I've used both and they both work great. Pretty much the way the capture card works, you take the AV output from your camcorder. You're going to want like one of the cables that comes with the cameras. Then you're just going to need the capture card, whether it's the $10 or $60 version. You plug the USB in and you connect the cables. It's pretty straightforward. Then you want to open up a program like OBS, and then you're basically going to click the video capture card is going to pop up. Basically just rewind your tape to the beginning, hit record on OBS, and then play the entire thing through. So the pros of this, I like the quality that comes out of this. It's the perfect solution for beginners just getting into camcorders. It's cheap and you can kind of get your toes wet. And one of my favorite things to do is a glitchy take. So once I record my whole tape, I'll go back through and I'll film me rewinding the actual tape, and then I'll hit play, I'll pause, I'll rewind, I'll fast forward, and this just gives you a cool glitchy take that you can use in your edit. And I feel like this is a lot of fun, and you can really make some cool edits out of this. Obviously, if it's a music video, you're not going to be able to sync any of this footage, but it's great for transitions and things like that. The cons, I'm going to say this is slow. You have to basically, if you filmed, multiple tapes, you're going to have to watch all those tapes over through or just play them in the background while you're editing. Another con is you're going to have one big massive clip. It's not going to be separate clips like you do when you import an SD card. It's one big chunky clip. You could use like the auto scene detection in some of the editors like Premiere, and this sometimes does kind of help. Lastly, tape decks can fail, so that's a little bit sketchy in that sense, and those are the cons for that. Next method is specific to MiniDVs, but you can use FireWire, and FireWire actually is one of the best ways to get really high quality. If you have a MiniDV, this is not going to work on Hi8 or VHS-C. So you need a lot of adapters and whatnot. I'll link a video down below on how to do FireWire because I have not personally done this, but if I don't mention it, the people who love FireWire are going to get mad at me. So if you have a MiniDV, you can do FireWire, and that's going to give you the highest quality capture. Pros of this, it's pretty much similar to the capture card, but you're just going to get the highest quality possible, but you still have to play back your same tape. So the pros and cons are pretty similar there. The last way I would probably capture it is using a CRT TV. This one's a little bit obscure, but if you have a CRT TV laying around, you can take that same cable that should come with your camera. You can take the output and you can just plug it straight into the TV and play back your footage. Then you would want to record it on a DSLR, and then that's how you can capture your footage in a pinch. The pros to this, I would say it's a unique look and it's cheap if you already have a CRT TV. Cons, I'm going to say CRTs are heavy, and I feel like this is a lot of setup because you have to set up your camcorder and you have to set up your DSLR. There's a lot to make the shot look good, so I would not recommend this. Let's move on to tapeless builds.
So more recently, a lot of people have been getting into tapeless builds. Basically, you put some type of recorder on your camera and that's going to record to SD card. I'm going to cover all the tapeless recorders. I pretty much bought most of them, and there's a couple I didn't buy, but I am going to talk about. I have some cheaper options if you want to skip around, and I'm going to do like an overview at the end.
When using a tapeless build, the first thing you want to do is take out the tape. If you leave the tape in, the camera is going to automatically power off. So most cameras without a tape are going to stay on. If the camera powers off, you may have to change some settings in the menu.
The first build I'm going to talk about is my personal favorite. This is the Immersion RC Powerplay. This thing was originally made for FPV drones, but the tapeless community has taken it over. The Immersion Powerplay is really nice and compact, and it has a huge community behind it. When you get the Immersion Powerplay, the cable out of the box is not going to work. They do now have an add-on for a camcorder cable that you can just add on, since the community has been buying these up, so that is an option. You're going to need a certain type of battery that I'm going to link below, and you're also going to need a micro SD card. But you're not done yet. You have to mount this to your camera somehow. Some cameras have cold shoe mounts. Assortment actually put a free 3D file online. Super quick to print if you have a 3D printer or know someone with one, and it works perfect. If not, it comes with like this little bracket, and I totally feel like you could put some Velcro or something like that on there. Some cameras don't have cold shoe mounts, and that's where I would look to the community. One of my favorite creators in the community is DevBuild, and he actually sent me a bunch of pieces. He has this really nice extendo mount. So on my Hi8 camera where I don't have any way to mount the Powerplay, this actually extends from the quarter 20 on the bottom, and I could just slide on his mount. Opens up a lot of possibilities for cameras without mounting points. He also makes custom cables that just work. Like I said, the cable you get with the Powerplay does not work. It only works when it's like out like a quarter of the way. So you don't want to film with that. That's unreliable. You want to pick up a working cable. He also sent me his new articulating mount, and this thing is perfect. I love that you can change the angle of the RC Powerplay depending on how you're filming. I love that it has this adjuster right here so you can really lock it into your hot shoe mount. That's my one issue with the free designed model, is that it just kind of slides on. So sometimes it was a little bit wobbly and loose. You could fix that with a few pieces of tape though. If you have like one of the cameras like the VX1000, he actually makes an RCA cable now. So it goes from the Immersion Powerplay mount, it goes into the RCA video cable. So that's really nice to have if you have one of those cameras. I don't have one of those cameras, but I was actually able to run my glitch effects to the Powerplay using his mount, which was super sick. Get a glitch effects down below if you guys don't have one. So check out DevBuild. Just use code Tyler at checkout. You're gonna get 10% off. I get a small little kickback. There's also Handycam. They have some really specialty mounts like that SC5 mount that I was showing, and they have these really nice like coiled colored cables. So if you're looking for style, and you could check out Handycam. I'm gonna have them linked below. The Powerplay has been the one that I've actually used. It's compact enough where I actually want to take this thing out, because if I overpack and my build is too big, that's when I stop wanting to use it, and it gets in the way of my creativity. Pros for the RC Powerplay is, one, it's compact. Another pro is batteries. I love that you could just swap out the batteries. So you always know that you have another charged set of batteries, because if it was internal, you don't know how long it's going to last, but you can swap these out whenever. And I love having separate clips. Just being able to record and stop recording is one of the best things. You don't have to worry about any tapes. So that is one really nice thing. Let's get to the cons on the RC Powerplay, because believe it or not, there are some cons. First off, I feel like I lose a little bit of color. Comparing this to when I did the capture card with the tape, I feel like you can really see a loss of saturation. Typically when I edit, I'm in Lumetri, I'm always adding a little bit more contrast and boosting up that saturation to kind of get back there. Also, I have noticed a slight jitter to the image. I think it adds to the look, but if that bothers you, that's something to consider. The third option is the price. It sits around like $165. Sometimes you could get it cheaper on Amazon, but then you have to get a cable for it and you have to find a way to mount it. You could just spend $165 and maybe get a cable, so you're in it like, I don't know, like $180, and then you could just DIY mount it using some Velcro, or if you have a 3D printer. So, but I do think price is something to consider. This is hands down one of my favorite setups that I have. I've really enjoyed and have actually used this tapeless setup. This next tapeless setup is the best bang for your buck, I'm gonna say. This is the iRecord. And this thing is pretty compact, and it's only around $75. And the surprising thing is, this thing actually came with a micro SD card, and it also came with a good amount of cables that you could just use. So that was really nice to just see that it came with all that, and this thing's fairly cheap. Here's a quality comparison between the Powerplay and the iRecord. I thought it was decent. This one only uses RCA, so this cable is going to be a little bit more cumbersome. You're going to have to find a way to like wrap it up and kind of just conceal that. Whereas the Powerplay has that really just like single cable, and it's really nice and compact. Whereas these cables are typically long. Maybe you can find a short one, The cable that it uses is the same cable that we used earlier, the 3.5mm to RCA. This thing does have an internal battery. I didn't record the full thing, but I left it on recording for like about 45 minutes and it said it was still at a full battery. That's the only thing I don't like about this, is you don't know how long the battery is going to last, but you could maybe even like put some Velcro on the back and you could run a battery pack to this since it's so compact. I just hate having to like plug in another cable and do a battery pack. That's why I like the Powerplay, because you could swap out the batteries. I just mounted that with a simple phone clip and it worked pretty good on the hot shoe. You could even pick up the extender if you don't have a hot shoe from Dev Build, and then you could just put that off to the side like for my Hi8 camera. I think this is a great beginner tapeless build. I think it works, but if you have the extra money, I'd say go get the Powerplay. But the first pro is, I'm gonna say, size. It's a nice compact size. Secondly, I'm gonna say this thing is cheap. It's a great starter point. It's fairly cheap and it comes with a lot of cables, like I said. It also comes with an SD card. The quality is okay. Cons, I'm gonna say this thing's a little bit sketchy. I have seen some comments and saying people they get horrible quality out of this. The second con is the cable is too bulky. You know, you have these RCA cables, they're bulky. Next up is my least favorite of all the digital recorders, is the ClearClick. And the ClearClick it was the first one that I bought. I bought the ClearClick 2.0 for like $150, $170. And this thing doesn't even have, it doesn't have any type of battery. So you have to run a power bank to it. And that just ends up having a ton of cables. Just like the previous recorder, it takes RCA, but it also does take S-video, which is higher quality. I don't really see a quality difference. Let me know if you do in the comments down below. Since I had the 2.0, they actually came out with the 3.0, right? So you think they'd make some things better. But I honestly hate this thing. I ordered this thing. It was $200 off Amazon, and I am returning it because this thing is hot garbage. It records 4:3 in 16:9, so it looks like the worst stretched out image you have ever seen. It's like, why couldn't they've just made this thing a square? It has an internal battery. I did not check on how long that internal battery lasts. It's really hard to mount. I tried it with my phone mount. I don't know why they couldn't have just put a quarter 20 on the bottom of this thing for how big it is. And I don't really like this one more than the 2.0, other than the fact that it has an internal battery. The pros to the ClearClicks, I'm gonna say it works. The quality is good, and that's it. The cons, I hate how bulky it is. I hate how weird it is to mount. So lastly, there is one other option. The Sony MRC1. This only will work on MiniDVs. You connect it with the FireWire. The cool thing about this is it's going to record the best quality. It's like a 1-to-1, so there isn't any quality loss, which is cool if that's your thing. Spend somewhere around like $200. It looks a little bit bulky to me. Like I said, that's why I like the Immersion. It's small, it's compact. But if quality is your thing, I think that is a good option. So I haven't personally used it, so that's all I have. If you've used one down below, let me know if I'm right. Because personally me, I film on a wide variety of cameras. I don't want to invest in that kind of system where if I pick up a Hi8 or if I pick up a MiniDV, I'm not going to be able to use one or the other. And that's where the Powerplay and all these other capture card options make a little bit more sense. So that's pretty much everything when it comes to using all these camcorders. Like I said, I've been shooting on camcorders for a while, and it's been a long journey from using tapes to not using tapes. And I still will use a combination of both. I'm still going to record on tapes when it's convenient, and I'm going to use the Powerplay when I just want to have separate clips and I want to be able to just drag them and drop them and get straight to work. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think. I'm Tyler Casey. I will catch you guys next time. Thank you for watching. Bye.